one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024.
Not even Discount Tuesday could spare Rachel Zegler from the ultimate Hollywood horror, witnessing her own film fail in real time while seated in a mostly empty theater. Not only did the woke Snow White remake fail, it was wiped out, leaving just Zegler, 23, and a few friends who were willing to risk their lives to see the carnage up close. This was a harsh reality check for an actress who was once heralded as Hollywood's next great thing. Now that the box office figures are calling back, it's obvious that nobody came. The woke Snow White actress took a few devoted pals, including Illa Mason, Jorge Mason, Remy, and Maria Isabel Demisen, to see her own film on March 25, 2025, in what appeared to be a deserted cinema. And we had a front-row ticket to the cringe because of Isla's Instagram tales. Rachel gave an embarrassed laugh and cheered for herself when Isla yelled Zegler's name as it showed on the screen, with hardly anyone else in sight. The group made an effort to maximize the experience, though it's unclear if they hired out the cinema or if the vacant seats were a result of the film. 2 tickets, please, they said to a Regal employee, following a popular trend. For which movie? He said innocently. They appeared utterly perplexed as the camera cut to them clutching their souvenir cup and popcorn bucket with a Snow White theme.
Please?
For which movie?
Zegler clutched a bouquet of flowers, which was probably a condolence gift from her pals because the box office wasn't giving out any prizes, as if the evening couldn't be much more horribly ironic. Although it appears that Rachel may have portrayed Snow White, this film's kissing is at its lowest point. Disney's Snow White is not only a failure, but also a costly one, with only $3.5 million in Thursday previews and a dreadful $43 million opening weekend. This catastrophe isn't even comparable to the $95 million debut of The Little Mermaid remake. Not to mention that, despite having a far lesser budget, Dumbo, yes, Dumbo, made nearly the same amount during its first weekend of release. Speaking of budgets, the production of Snow White cost more than $250 million, not including marketing. Critics are having a field day right now since movie theaters appear to be more empty than ever. Photos of audience members appearing utterly alone in their rows, and seating charts with almost any tickets sold are all over social media. Additionally, some people are urging a GoFundMe to help Disney break even because the internet never misses an opportunity to make a joke. An old clip of Zegler reappeared after the Disney adaptation failed at the box office. And let's just say it did not hold up with time. Rachel Zegler had brazenly claimed that audiences would line up to see her movies, but now all that's left are the receipts, and they all point to Snow White's failure as a royal production. She fervently says in the now viral video,
"And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see."
In the actual world, the internet is the only thing standing in line, ready to make fun of her. The nation's theaters were empty, ticket sales were appalling, and critics didn't waste any time criticizing her. In plain terms, one commenter wrote, "Welcome back to reality, princess. Snow White was a total failure." By uploading the video on X and reminding everyone that Snow White is officially Disney's worst-performing live-action remake in decades, Ian Miles Cheong fanned the flames.
This is really a bad movie, and I apologize to Walt Disney himself. I'm sorry.
It appears that Rachel Zegler's relationship with co-star Gal Gadot was also in ruins, in addition to Snow White. Variety just revealed the shocking details of the behind-the-scenes turmoil surrounding Disney's most recent catastrophe, and spoiler alert, Zegler was at the heart of it all. Anonymized people with strong Disney ties claim that executives were already uncomfortable with Zegler's unpaid remarks disparaging the original Snow White. However, they remained silent rather than controlling her. The actual mess followed. At Disney's D23 event, Zegler was all smiles and charm until she stunned everyone by making a daring and unexpected political statement at the end of her post-show thanks message. You may be sure that Disney immediately fell into a panic. Executives were shaken. The studio's first priority was damage management, as their $270 million fairy tale descended into a full-fledged political maelstrom.
Behind the scenes, you guys know as well as I do that those executives like Spielberg are looking at that, saying, Rachel Zegler can F right off.
Jonah Platt has now intervened to criticize Zegler harshly for this. In a since-deleted Instagram comment, Jonah, the son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, blasted Rachel Zegler for the film's dismal box office performance. Let's just say he didn't hold back. Jonah revealed that his father had to practically board an airplane to chastise Zegler for bringing her personal politics into the movie's promotional trip, according to Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and People. Jonah wrote, "This is called adult responsibility and accountability," before stating quite frankly that her actions obviously impacted the film's box office performance. Naturally, Zegler wasn't having it at the moment, and the post remained up for a while despite Mark Platt even flying to New York to personally plead with her to calm down. What is going on between Zegler and Godot in the meantime? To put it mildly, their mirror-mirror dynamic changed. According to insiders, they were all smiles when filming, but the lead-up to the release quickly became unpleasant. Furthermore, it doesn't end there. Zegler made what many perceived as a backhanded remark about Godot after the two awkwardly presented together at the 2025 Oscars. In an Instagram reaction, she essentially referred to Godot as a professional pageant queen. The comment was deemed suspicious by the internet, and Disney officials concurred that it seemed contemptuous of a fellow actress. Behind the scenes, however, tension was already high. You see, Godot and Zegler ended up on opposing sides of a contentious political issue.
Zegler also faced blowback after posting Free Palestine. Godot is from Israel and served in the Israeli army.
As a result, Godot reportedly faced significant difficulties as a result of Zegler's writings showing biased political support. Because of her background, she was the object of harsh criticism and even threats to her safety. Disney had to pay for additional security for the mother of four because the situation got so ugly. And source revealed she didn't realize the consequences of her actions. For the movie, for Gal, for anybody. In addition, the $270 million film was already losing money as a result of expensive reshoots and Zegler's endlessly contentious takes. Then, the last straw appeared. "May Trump's supporters never know peace," Zegler wrote on Instagram following the presidential election. Disney execs went into crisis mode after hearing that one line. She was alienating half of the potential audience for a film that was already doomed, and the studio had had enough. Disney attempted a final Hail Mary by having producer Mark Platt fly out to meet her twice. After considerable back and forth, Zegler ultimately consented to hire a social media specialist who was compensated by Disney to approve each and every post before the movie's March 21st premiere. Online feud watchers are back at it, this time because of a conspicuous omission in Zegler's most recent Instagram post, just when you thought the controversy between Zegler and Godot had subsided. Hours before Snow White hobbled into theaters on March 20th, Zegler gushed about the greatest crew in the world on Instagram, calling the movie a life-changing experience. She gushed about how she spent 3 magical summers in London, falling in love with the people she worked with. However, who was noticeably absent from this celebration of love? Godot. Gal. Not a word. No pictures. Naturally, the internet took note. Now, is this only a harmless mistake? Yes. But it's difficult to avoid viewing this as yet another overt slight when you combine it with Zegler's Oscar night jab and all the conflicts that exist behind the scenes. The drama doesn't end there either. If Snow White's dismal box office performance wasn't already a nightmare straight out of a fairy tale, the roiling scandals surrounding Rachel Zegler aren't helping either. The internet went crazy as soon as Disney announced Zegler as their new Snow White. Similar to the criticism Halle Bailey had when she was chosen to play Ariel in The Little Mermaid, several reviewers objected to a Latina actress portraying the pale-skinned princess. But Zegler didn't mince words. She responded to the angry keyboard warriors on social media with a since-deleted message that said, "Yes, I am Snow White." According to the Wall Street Journal, she wrote, "No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." Losers obsessed with maintaining the bloodline purity of a cartoon princess is how she even described her detractors. The storm wasn't exactly calmed by it. Zegler confirmed the craze around her casting in a 2022 Variety interview with Andrew Garfield, stating that she had become a trending topic due to angry people. However, Snow White isn't experiencing that kind of magic, even though controversy can occasionally contribute to a movie's success. You know, Zegler's Snow White has had a difficult time ever since it was revealed, and her own remarks regarding the narrative haven't helped either. Zegler caused a stir when she referred to the original 1937 Snow White plot as weird in a 2022 interview with Extra. Her romance with a man who actually stalks her is the main focus. Strange, she remarked, alluding to Prince Charming.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Disney had already alluded to updating the Snow White remake, but Zegler's language gave the impression that she was flatly rejecting the cherished romance of the original movie. However, her statement that they were adopting a different approach with the film was what truly riled people up. Snow White, the first full-length animated Disney feature, is a classic for a reason, according to critics, who accused her of disparaging the same movie she was meant to be celebrating. One fan commented on X, "Why take the role if you detest the story so much?" As if things couldn't get any uglier, the debate surrounding Disney's live-action Snow White went far beyond the scandal over Zegler's appointment. Regarding how the 7 dwarfs were handled in the movie, Peter Dinklage had a lot to say. The Game of Thrones star didn't mince words on a 2022 episode of Marc Maron's WTF podcast. Disney's self-congratulations for using a Latina actress to play Snow White while continuing to present a story about 7 dwarfs struck him as disingenuous. He found the paradox offensive.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward
Oh,
story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
He questioned how a studio could maintain what he perceived to be an antiquated depiction of dwarfs coexisting in a cave while simultaneously promoting advancement in one area. His direct critique sparked an online firestorm. Wee Man, Jackass, soon made his appearance to offer his thoughts on this dispute as well.
You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's 4 dwarfs, you know?
While some objected that Peter was eliminating parts for performers with dwarfism, others applauded him for pointing out Disney's selective approach to progress. Disney obviously paid attention to the heated controversy. Disney quickly responded to the criticism the next day, announcing in a statement that they were adopting a different approach to the 7 dwarfs, and that they had been in consultation with the dwarfism community. In the end, that different approach meant doing away with the traditional 7 dwarfs completely. And with what did they swap them out? CGI dwarfs. The retaliation was swift and severe. After seeing Disney's computer-generated dwarfs, fans essentially shrank back. The photorealistic method was a complete failure.
That is totally uplifting and the right way to be woke, Link, when you actually cancel the roles for the marginalized population, because just putting them on screen is somehow racist.
These computer-generated characters lacked the personality and expressiveness of the original animated characters, and instead appeared rigid, unnatural, and, well, just plain strange. Suddenly, another chapter in Snow White's lengthy, disorganized story turned into another topic of discussion. The real question, though, was whether Disney would continue to show off or put this mess under the rug after all the fuss. As it happens, they chose the latter. Variety claims that Disney forewent the customary fanfare in favor of a modest pre-party during the day on March 15th, which was followed by a subdued screening at the venerable El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. Even the European premiere was kept under wraps, Disney hidden it away at a castle in northern Spain rather than the typical glamorous event in London's Leicester Square. What does this indicate then? Insecure? A fear of controversy? Or perhaps a tacit acknowledgement that the movie would fall short? In any event, this muted launch seemed like another indication that Disney was preparing for impact for a movie already engulfed in scandal. Snow White was more than simply a fairy tale, it was a warning, with a subdued debut, unrelenting criticism, and a box office performance that fell short of its $270 million budget. When all is said and done, the true question is, how could Disney make such a mistake? Tell us in the comments what you think of the Snow White remake's PR catastrophe. This is the next video you should watch if you want to see more of the Snow White drama.